everybody. Welcome to episode 423 of The Brink of Sanity. We have a special guest today, Playboy's Miss December 82, cover model October 83, Miss Budweiser, best breasts in the USA, organized the Playmate running team in 1994, author of the book Centerfolds, starred in Frankenhooker, Posed for Murder, has a production company. I could keep going, but I don't want the intro to be longer than the episode. So, Charlotte Kemp, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Jason. I appreciate it. And I appreciate your waiting while I go COVID.
Yes, we had a few almost interviews before the actual interview. So I'm glad we finally get to talk, and I'm excited about this. So, yeah, obviously, you've probably talked ad nauseum about the Playboy stuff, so we won't get too much into that.
I want to say about the Playboy Mansion. People want to know everything about the Playboy Mansion, but in the book, there's a lot of us that actually talk about the Playboy Mansion. And it is on Amazon, and I guess it's in Barnes and Nobles and other places too. So
Good. So, how long after your whole run with Playboy did you decide you wanted to start writing a book? When did you come up with the idea to like? So this is
because like okay, the first published book was in 2017,
okay.
and that was by Kohler Books, and they totally screwed things up. But um, what happened is I worked on it for 20 years, and 20 years before that, I had thought, you know what? Everything is so one-sided in the press about who we are, what we are, and our personal stories. Everyone just thinks that we're just, a lot of people say bunnies, and I'm like, bunnies are different, but at the same time, whatever.
Hmm.
But I wanted to hear, the women's stories. Well, at first, I didn't get the great stories that I got at the end because women were afraid that they wouldn't be invited to play, the mansion and stuff. If the book came out, they were
Hmm.
afraid of, repercussions from half and everything. I'm like, seriously? I was the first playmate he gave a license to for the Playboy running team. And you know what? I had been 86 a couple times because one time we were playing backgammon, and this is in the book with F, and he cheated, and I always caught him cheating. So I pushed the backgammon board up and smacked him and cut his eyebrow.
Who
So
is this?
80
Hugh?
half,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's funny.
Everyone calls him half.
How did he react to that?
He wasn't happy. He was like, looked at me like, "Why did you do that?" I'm like, "You always cheat," and I'm sorry, I didn't mean to hit your head, but apologizing and being disgruntled at the same time is, not a good look.
Right.
But but we were friends, and for the last years, I didn't know him at all because I moved to Texas,
Hmm.
so you know.
So,
But
so
go
you
ahead.
started collecting these stories 20 years ago?
Uh, 20 years ago, before 2017,
Hmm.
yeah,
Okay.
so would have been 87. But the first stories I got were not great, and like I told you that 9 to 10 women in this book have actually passed.
Hmm.
So I got their stories. Um, finally, when like half went into like after the new girl or whatever, and so they would because no one is invited to the mansion anymore. So they started telling their real stories and not just like fluff.
Hmm.
They gave me you know the real stuff,
By real stuff, you mean like their
detail
experiences and.
detailed stories that people don't really know about, and
Hmm.
not just the fluff or the stupid stuff that the press or fans and stuff. They actually gave me you know intimate stories.
Good. I mean, that sounds super interesting. Do you have an example or a favorite story that you'd like to share?
Yeah. um Hold on. I had these earmarked and they're not now. Um, there is blah, um, like Kimberly Mallon's story about Tom Cruise is pretty interesting. And I shared that with her, and I met Tom Cruise, Mr. Risky Business, and I was actually on the set of Risky Business, and was one of the hookers himself on movie night at the mansion. Tom's actually my age, but my radar was going, "You're young." I
I think I lost you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I lost you for a second.
What just happened?
I don't know. You were there and then you weren't.
I know. I just went zoomed out. Anyways, it's a whole story about Tom Cruise and how they, went out and everything. And I have a story about that too because he was with my during Risky Business, Jill DeVries, who was April 78.
Hmm.
Anyways, every night he would come back with her and she said he was like an acrobat. They would,
Hmm.
uh, like bunnies. And I'd see him and I'd go, ugh, what the heck? And she was like, oh my God. Now, as I was one of the hookers, like on the stairs and stuff, they had these smoke machines.
Hmm.
And I'm like, 21 years old. I can't remember, 21, 22. And the smoke machines came up and it made me sick. I kind of had the flu anywhere, cold. I ended up like throwing up on the set. And they said, okay, get her out of here.
So, did your scene get
And
cut, or were they able to film before that happened?
I don't actually, I think I see my legs in it,
Okay.
but I know. And I don't think I even have a credit in it. But, you know, my roommate was, screwing him and it was just like weird, I was so young then.
Hmm.
And Jill is like 9 years older than me. She was so much more used to all this stuff and I wasn't. And
Hmm.
I was like, whoa, this is weird. And it took me a while to get used to like the Playboy lifestyle, not lifestyle so much, but used to how things, were happening.
So you get into Playboy. You're the cover model. Does your life just change overnight? Is everything like
Yeah,
completely different?
it does. It does. And I had started dating Gary Fensick, who is, all pro and everything for the Bears, before I actually got into Playboy. And he, I was at a Miss Stolishnoya contest, and I got like runner up, and he like hit on me hard after that. I was like, ew, what? And I actually had a boyfriend from college, and he just kept on coming at me. And I was like, okay. So I finally went out with him and dated for the next well, a year and a half, 2 years.
Hmm.
But yeah, Los Angeles. The night I did actually, like Jill and I got drunk on a bottle of wine. So she said, come on, let's walk over to Playboy because we lived like off State Street and Playboy was like, 4 blocks away. So we walk over there, we're laughing and giggling. She goes, oh, just take a look. So we go up and they have this whole set, everything ready. And so, I'm a little drunk. So, everyone becomes uninhibited when you're drunk. I'd
Yeah.
never pose nude, never, ever. And I did. And the next morning, there was a limousine. I guess I was accepted that night. There was a limousine the next morning at, well, not morning, but like at 12 o'clock on a Sunday. Took me, you know, to Los Angeles. Well, you know, and next day I shot with Ken Marcus, and I think my centerfold was accepted like within 2 days. And
Wow.
then I think Thursday I was back in Chicago. It
What a
was like,
whirlwind! Wow.
whoo, whoo. And that's, when you're from the Midwest and,
Hmm.
never posed nude, never been, and it's a whole head thing.
Yeah.
And
Were
when I
you
was
modeling
there,
before
though,
that?
what?
Were you modeling at all before that?
Yeah. Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
I had done like, a lot of modeling,
Hmm.
and I did modeling normal after that. I was on cover of Cosmopolitan in Spain, and then I did like Playboy in Japan, and all these different things. Yeah, I'd modeled before that. I mean,
Okay.
since I was 14, I had actually done modeling, but really safe, kind of like,
Hmm.
not nudity.
Right. Right. So just randomly walked into this situation. Now you got limos picking you up,
Yeah,
and you.
Joe kind of tricked me. And she's like, "Oh yeah, come up and just take it in." And David Meese was my uh, photographer, and they had everything ready. And I was like, "What?" But they gave me another glass of wine, and I was like, "Oh, okay." And they did my hair, my makeup, everything else. And I was like, "Okay, this is weird." And the next day, boom, I was accepted. There's a limousine at 12 o'clock Sunday morning. I was like, what? I had no idea.
And how long did it take for between the shoot and when it showed up in the magazine?
I think I did the shoot in May.
Okay.
And then they wanted me to be Miss December because that's always the biggest issue and the biggest boobs, I guess. Um, and I was a late bloomer, so I was like, all this stuff was like,
Mm-hmm.
uh, but I got there. And actually, the first night I was there, I was kind of walking around looking at stuff and everything. And Lance Rensel, um, that actually came up to me and said, "Listen, I don't want anyone to jump on you or anything else. You look like a really nice girl." And he actually escorted me around, never touched me, never hit on me or anything. He actually sat outside my door so that, you know, all the weirdos or, you know,
Mm-hmm.
would leave me alone,
Wow. That's
which is pretty cool.
yeah, that's really nice. I think it's important when you're that young to have somebody in your corner like that because I'm guessing there's going to be a lot of vultures circling when
Oh,
you first
yeah,
start.
absolutely. And there always was. I
Hmm.
mean, that's just part of the deal when you go to the mansion. There are always, it was Hef's compadres and everything else. And oh, I can't tell you all these stories because they're going to be in Centerfolds too.
Oh, okay. All right. So you're already working on that. You got some
Yeah,
interviews lined
yeah,
up, and
yeah.
good.
But one of the stories is Cynthia Myers, and she was, let me see here. No, I had all this stuff earmarked, and I don't know what happened. Um, Cynthia Myers was also Miss December, and she told a story about the night of Sharon Tate murders.
Hmm.
Jay Sebring was a friend of hers, and he called her and said, "Well, you left your ring at my house," and that was the night she was said. He said, "Why don't you come over? We're getting a whole party together and come over." And she decided not to, which actually saved her life. And it's
Wow.
all in the book about that too, because of the fact that if she was there, she would have been killed.
Yeah, sliding doors. Wow.
She decided not to go.
So for those who don't know, that's the Charles Manson murders, right?
Yeah, yeah. And that was that night. She was supposed to be there, which is, wow.
Yeah,
You know,
that'll.
talk about dodging a bullet or a knife.
Yeah. Oh my God. Wow. So
And there's lots of other great stories that people have never heard
mhm.
in the book. And, when people read it, I've gotten a lot of comments that, yeah, it's an easy read, but it's an intimate, intensive read too. And people just go, wow, I never knew that. Wow, I never knew that. You know?
Yeah, yeah. No, that's great. I mean, uh, that's the kind of books I like to read too. Just easy but interesting stories. I read a lot of biographies too. So
So,
yeah,
did you read this book?
I have not read it yet. I will. I know. I will.
Jason,
I know. I know.
you're interviewing someone you haven't read the book.
I'm an accountant. It's busy season. My books have been on hold.
Yeah, right.
But yes, I will be reading it.
How cute.
Um, yeah. So you started writing the book. Is there a reason It took
I
so long to come out. Like, were you?
no,
No. Okay. I was wondering if you were
no.
having like
It
legal
actually
issues
once
with
there was
after.
a someone who said I love this stuff. This is going in now, and she got me to this publisher, etc. But the publisher was kind of nuts, and it, it's a whole long story about publishing and everything else. It's really that's scarier than Playboy, actually. What I went through with the publisher first, and the publisher was like, I mean, it was just bizarre. And you have to be, I always tell writers and things that you have to be really careful
Mm-hmm.
about, who is publishing. And I should have done more background,
Mm-hmm.
but I didn't. And a guy was like, well, the editor. And I spent some time together, and I didn't. One thing about the book is all these stories are in each playmate's words.
Mm-hmm.
Everything I made sure, and he wanted to edit out this, and I said, no, I'm not editing these stories. I mean, yeah, the ums and ahs and
Right.
filler stuff, but all these stories are in their own words,
The way it
and
should
they are
be.
not
Yeah.
edited down to like look like something else or whatever. And I promised them that, and I after the story was done, I would go over it with them and everything else, and they would approve it. Otherwise, I would feel guilty. I mean, I wanted our stories to come out,
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
just now. And but when I had the Playboy running team, um, they approved it, and they had never Playmate had never had a license from Playboy,
Mm-hmm.
and they gave me a lot and everything, but they also cut me off at my knees. After 4 years, I wanted to sub license to do different things, and I said, "Oh no," and it would have been clothes of the different playmates and different stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and I had a clothing line and everything. And they just said, no, we thought you were just to be a mom and pop thing. I said, well, how do you think that I get the money
Right.
to get, 10 girls to every city, pay their, this and this.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got pregnant and it didn't run. So basically they kind of closed shop on me anyways.
So they didn't want you to have any side gigs, any other like.
They didn't want me to sub license, and
Mm-hmm.
like I had a whole plan,
Mm-hmm.
and they just went no.
Oh
I
wow.
mean, I sent Christy Hafner, like I had these wonderful like football jackets. They were black felt and leather and monogrammed, and a big monogram in the back, and a hat and all this stuff. I sent it to her, and she sent it back.
Wow. That's super rude.
Yeah, I had Howard Shapiro was the lawyer. I had a lawyer for Playboy, and I had like nose to nose fights with him.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we had it out a couple times because I'm not usually one to back down unless I know I'm wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Then I will back down, and that's fine. But I wasn't, and I just like lost it.
I mean, standing
Not
up for
so much
yourself
about
is,
that, but
they're
huh?
probably not used to people standing up for themselves and just, pushing people
No,
around.
and but you know what? People always say that I'm a uh-oh that I'm a bitch, but it's more like a defense,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't like people to box me in, and
Mm-hmm.
I will fight my way out. And it's just what you're made of.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
grew up very strong. I started out swimming when I was 3. I read at 2, was reading novels at 5,
Wow.
and I'm just a very strong person.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't, I don't accept bad things like that.
Good.
Either I'll
Yeah.
fight back or I'll just shut down.
Yeah. Absolutely. So you got to do a lot of traveling for all these shoots.
Oh yeah.
Do you have a favorite place you've lived and a favorite place you've traveled?
Spain is one of my favorite places that I've traveled,
Okay.
and we, I went with uh, Gary, and the guy who actually was the head of the Illinois lottery.
Mm-hmm.
So we went over. to Madrid, started there, and they have like, if you know, like a chef, they can actually rent a restaurant to have the private, you know. And then we went up through up to San Sebastian, but we stopped at, Run of the Bulls, Festival of Saint Fermin.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm there with two guys, and I just felt like Ava Gardner. But the we were there, and it was awesome. I tried to like uh, use tape. We tried to tape down my boobs. I put the white shirt on and everything and everything. And so I go out and start running,
Mm-hmm.
and my hat flies off, and my hair falls down. And they were like people grabbing me because I was the only chick there.
Mm-hmm.
Now I think they allow, but at that time they didn't. And then we went up to San Sebastian, which was really cool because we're in this little bitty car driving along, and they've got all these uh, rifles, all these guard all the way up to San Sebastian. And I love Spain, and I've been to Spain many times after. And but Japan was really fun.
Mm-hmm.
And I modeled like I was the first Playboy playmate for Japan, and I did television shows, and they had an apartment for me and different stuff. And I did 2 movies there for Bandai, and I had a great time. I was treated like a queen there.
That's great.
Plus, I was taller than everybody too.
Yeah, I've been to Japan before. It's my favorite city that I've been to. It's just, it feels like you're walking into the future. The technology is so far ahead of us, and everybody's like, so
I don't
clean
think I could go back and get the same feeling when you're young. All the lights and everything is really cool.
Mm-hmm.
You go out party till like 4 o'clock a.m. But I don't think I could take it now unless I just went to Kyoto.
Right. Yeah, a little more laid back city.
Yeah.
Tokyo's a
But Kyoto's
Tokyo's a
gotten
lot.
huge too.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people have moved there too. I mean, Japan is just like gonna fall off the map pretty soon between the earthquakes and the tsunamis and everything.
Yeah.
And just the overpopulation. I mean, Tokyo has what, 15 million people?
Yeah, it's super, super dense. Yeah.
I remember even back then it was like $24 for a glass of orange juice.
Yeah, I
And
went.
thank God the company was paying for everything, but
I went 5 or 6 years ago, and it wasn't. People say it's really expensive, but I guess living in New York, I felt like it was kind of like New York prices, so it was okay. But
true.
yeah, you tried the ramen there, I'm assuming, right? Because that was like the best ramen I've ever.
I'm not a ramen.
No?
I actually eat sashimi
Okay.
and yakitori
Mm-hmm.
or kushiyaki. Kushiyaki is all yakitori is chicken. Kushiyaki is actually all the different barbecue things, green beans, everything. And I love that. And kind of dated a real top sushi shop.
Oh wow,
Yeah.
that must have been good eats for a while.
I had so much fun in Tokyo in Japan. I mean, I really did.
Did you learn how to make sushi rolls, or were you just on the?
Oh yeah. I
eating?
mean, no, I didn't. I didn't learn that. I didn't have to. I got everything from I walk in and get everything there. So as far as that was concerned, I didn't have to worry about it. Plus, I was in a hotel.
Right. So you also lived in New York for a while. That's where you filmed the Frankenhooker.
Frankenhooker.
Yep. So
and Pose for Murder.
and Post Murder. Okay, so they were both in New York. So that was New York in the '80s. That must have been also like a pretty.
It was really fun because I had done Pose for Murder, and this was all when I moved back. I had lived with Stefan Johansson, who drove for Ferrari as a Formula One racing driver. And I moved back, and all of a sudden I had a whole bunch of people, and we just like partied like animals and did these movies and also lots of commercials and stuff like that. But what I found, and I lived in a great place, rent controlled everything. But what I found is that I am like an outdoorsman. And at first I used to walk like crazy, like 100 50 blocks a day.
Mm-hmm.
But then I started getting like uh, kind of claustrophobic because I felt like I needed to get out, and I ran all the time. And then my boyfriend, when I had to play with running team, was a he got I'm in a picture with Giuliani, him, and he died in 9/11. Um, but we were engaged, but uh, it was really, really tough for me. And I still can't go to the site.
Mm-hmm.
I've tried, and it's almost like I don't like funerals because I just cry.
Mm-hmm.
When I went to they had a wall, the Veterans Wall,
Yeah. Yeah.
Vietnam Wall,
Mm-hmm.
and they had, the one they take to different cities. And my girlfriend, who was much older than me, but her husband had died. He was like one of the first helicopter pilots, and he got shot down. She asked me to take the stuff and take it to the wall and put it by his name.
Mm-hmm.
I went and did that, and I cried. I sat there on a bench and cried for like 4 hours. I can't even watch war movies for some odd reason. It just hits my inner like child of just non-believing. I
Mm-hmm.
just can't believe the destruction. Even now I can't.
Yeah.
And I just cried for hours. But in New York, I kind of started getting boxed in, and I got an offer to come to Los Angeles and do more things. And my manager and I both moved to Los Angeles. And it was open, fair, and I felt like, okay, I can breathe a little bit.
Yeah.
Although I still love New York City. Don't, you know,
Mm-hmm.
hope no one takes offense on that. But for me, I just kind of started getting boxed in.
Yeah. It's a certain kind of energy, and it really wears you down after a while. And like I lived in the city for a while, and that's why I chose to move a little outside. It's just it gets
Yeah.
exhausting.
Well, and upstate, you go past Westchester or whatever, and upstate New York, I bought antiques, and I
Mm-hmm.
would rent a car, we drive up there and buy these wonderful antiques. I love upstate New York. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
it's beautiful.
beautiful,
Yeah, yeah, it's
absolutely
trees
gorgeous.
everywhere,
And people don't realize that. All they see is New York City,
and so
but
close. Like 30 minutes north of the city, you're already like trees, mountains. It's fresh air.
oh yeah, absolutely. It's like a friend of mine. They had a family home in Maine, in Cambridge, and we used to go there. Yeah, fall, uh, and eat lobsters like crazy.
Mm-hmm.
But it was like I was running a lot then. I used to run like 150, 175 miles a week.
Wow.
And I ran on the roads. And it was like that in upstate New York. Running the roads, and you just like, wow, just beautiful. I mean, there's rolling hills and really cool stuff.
So you're not just a runner; you're a marathon runner.
Yeah, I run 31 marathons, one mini triathlon, one triathlon, and then two endurance runs that were 50 plus miles.
Oh my god, I can't even imagine. When I was running regularly, I never got past like 5 or 6 miles. I can't even imagine 50.
It was I don't know, do you ever watch Chariots of Fire?
Yeah.
Do you remember? And when he ran to a certain point, he just went back like this and just flew.
Mm-hmm.
And I always get my second one, which is around like 6 miles.
Mm-hmm.
I could run forever. My second win, I just went, that was that feeling.
Okay.
And it's always just been like that. I mean, I don't run anymore, but
Mm-hmm.
I do like 5, 6 miles. Well, not, I haven't been since I was sick, but I usually do 5, 6 miles, fast paced walking. You know, you get old and your knees get bad or your hips or whatever.
I'm already starting to feel it. I know. So how far did you run with the Playboy running team? Like, that wasn't marathons, right?
Yeah,
Oh, it
I always
was.
did marathons, and the girls did 5Ks or just, at the booth selling clothes or whatever.
Okay.
But I was the only marathoner. Yeah.
Wow.
And my favorite one, obviously, I don't know if you can see the poster,
Yep.
was the 100th running of the Boston Marathon. It was awesome.
Boston. Yeah, I lived in Boston for a while too. It's a great city
I
for
never
it.
lived in Boston,
No.
but my mother was from Worcester.
Mm-hmm.
And, I had a lot of family in Worcester. So and I love Boston. I absolutely adored it, but I never had a chance to move there. You know, one place. Have you ever been to Philadelphia?
Yes, not for a long time, but I've done a couple of like day trips there.
I have never been to Philadelphia.
Really?
That's one of my probably bucket list type things, you know.
You've probably been to like Ibiza and all these exotic locations, though, right?
Ibiza,
Yeah.
yeah, I've lived all around
There you go. So
the world, and
don't
you
be
know,
jealous about
Australia
Philly.
and all over Europe, everything else. Yeah, of course, and you know, I love traveling.
Hmm.
I don't do a whole lot of it now, just because of I fell. I had a really bad thing. Couple, my husband died, my dog and my father died in the same day. It was all these different things, and then I was going to storage unit, and I had like small meals on for people that shoes are like small heels. But I slipped, and I had a box of books in my arms. I slipped and fell, and it landed on my pelvis.
Oh.
Now I thought it like broke my pelvis, but it broke my back.
Oh, it broke your back.
Yeah, I
Wow.
had three, um, actually 3.5 discs that were shattered,
Oh, wow.
and I couldn't walk for the longest time. And that's when I had gone into the hospital, and they gave me, that cortisone,
Hmm.
thing. And I was there, and it was after I got out of that I got COVID. It
Oh
was
my
like a
God.
few months later, and all of a sudden, it was like in February of 2020. I'm like, yeah, it put me down. And then I had to wait 2.5 years. I moved back to Houston. I had to wait 2.5 years to get, find a good orthoped and get the surgery. So I was like in bed for like 3.5, 4 years.
Oh
I
wow.
mean, literally laid out.
And you're
Not fun.
back up and as good as
Oh
new
yeah.
now.
No, I'm actually, well, not in the last 3 months because of the concussion and COVID, but yeah, no, I'm fine.
All right, good. Glad to hear
Well, except for that.
it. Yeah, except for all that. Um, I wanted to circle back to the movies again. So, uh, how did that wasn't another one where you just had a couple drinks and stumbled onto a set? I'm guessing at that point you had an agent and they were getting you gigs.
Yeah, no, I was cast
And
for this drama.
how is I'm particularly interested in Frankenhooker. Love that movie, by the way. I'm
Thank you.
I'm
It
starting
just
a
came out. I think it just came out on Stars or Netflix or something. I
uh,
think I saw it when I was like going through stuff.
yeah, I watched it on I believe Prime recently. Um,
Oh, maybe it was Prime. Yeah.
I'm actually starting a horror movie podcast, and it's the name of it
Oh,
is Three Basket Cases, named after the movie Basket Case, and the director of Basket
yeah,
Case
for Frank
is
Henenlotter,
yeah, exactly. So
of course.
yeah, so that looked like a really really good time on set. That you guys look like you were just having so
It
much fun.
was well, yeah, but I mean, it's a movie. It looks like everyone's having a great time and everything, but it's a movie. So off James Lorenz and I and a couple of girls used to go out after shooting and go to this one place that was off, I think, Houston, and you had to go walk down into it. It was great. And we drank and had fun and everything else. But it's a movie, so it's like you have your part. And, you don't really party, and then afterward we would all go out.
Okay,
So,
all right. So it
but
wasn't.
it was actually it was fun. I mean, I almost didn't really get in the movie because when I first went for the casting, he said I was too pretty.
Mhm,
He wanted plus a Midwestern accent, and I was supposed to be a hooker
mhm.
from New York City, and he said I was too pretty, so I got another second audition. I went in and I had like all this makeup on, my hair was all ratted out, everything. And he goes, "Okay," and then we
But
went
then
on after
back in the
that.
movie, you're all made up again, and you're.
Yeah,
I guess
yeah,
it made sense because
but
you're like
still, I think I still look like a hooker, didn't
you did, but you were definitely prettier than the other hookers in the
I? Oh, thanks, but sorry, girls. No, I mean that's just I didn't know why they did like put more makeup on me and stuff like that, to
Hmm.
look like a street hawker.
Right,
So
right. Yeah, you did look more like a model than a hooker in
yeah,
that, but
no, no,
it worked.
and I don't know why, because he wanted me to look more like a hooker,
Hmm.
and I was like, well, then why are you not putting like this blue eyeshadow on and all this
Hmm.
whatever?
Right, right. Well,
Didn't do it.
it ended up working. I mean, it's we all love
It's
that movie with
funny.
yeah,
It's funny.
yeah, the super crack
And
and the
James is a great guy. He had a really huge career, and he decided, he did a couple great movies, and he was a really good actor, and he just decided he didn't want to do it. He moved back to Jersey,
wow. Is that
which
what
is
happened to you
not
too? You just
it's not a fun, but
is that what happened to you too? You just acting wasn't your cup of tea.
well, when we moved to Los Angeles, um, there was one there. I did a couple commercials, but what I found is that I mean, I was up. My manager was really pissed. I just went, nope, I'm done because I didn't like saying other people's words. I
Hmm.
thought writing would be better for me. I had written since I was young, and I
Hmm.
actually won a couple of awards and things. But I just, you know what? It was I. I really, and for one thing, I didn't think I was a good actress. That's the main thing. The other thing is that I didn't want to say other people's words. It always felt like really like fake.
Hmm.
And I know actors have to get into the persona and da 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 da. I just couldn't do it.
That's fair. I mean,
And
y-
I was up for a couple of great parts, and I just said, nah, I'm not doing this. Plus, it's weird how you start doing things, how people kind of leech onto you. And
mhm.
for me, I have definite walls, you know.
Mhm. All right, that
And
makes sense.
the next book will tell you about why I have those walls. But
So is it the next book going to be more your stories, or are you still going to be more an
no,
intimate
no,
type
no,
of thing?
it's going to be more. It'll be a combination of more playmates and everything else.
Hmm.
And but I think I'm going to try to get a little bit deeper
Okay, into your personal
into
life too, or is that?
more personal and a little bit deeper into or intimate
Hmm.
about things, even though Centerfolds is very intimate. I
Hmm.
mean, Pamela Bryant talks about O.J. Simpson. I mean, you know, Jerry Brooklyn. I mean, just there's a lot of really intimate stuff in this, and people just see Centerfolds and they don't realize the stories are stories they've never heard,
Hmm.
and how really invasive and intimate they are.
It
So,
sounds really really interesting. Uh,
yeah, next time you better have your
well, if we have you
read
back,
that book, dude.
I will be fully versed in it. So, do you have a planned release date for the second book?
No,
Okay.
nope, no, no, no. It'll be within a year or two.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right. That's good.
yeah. But I'm also doing a book of short stories, which I love to write too. My first book for My Eyes Only
Hmm.
was poetry, which is horrible, but the short stories are good.
Okay. Is it true short stories or is it fiction?
there, there's always, everyone's short stories, no matter what who you are, whatever. There's always a little bit of, it's like jokes. There's always a little bit of you or what you draw from
Hmm.
in those. So yeah, some of them are, and I mean, it's not that you would like notice so much, but they do come from my experiences, and all writers have that. I
Hmm.
mean, you just don't just pick something out of the hat.
Right. Right.
Oh, I'll write about this, and have no idea what it actually is.
Hmm. So do you have uh like a journal or like an idea pops into your head? You start like what is the creative
No,
process behind that?
when something usually a lot of times it comes at night, so I have a recorder next
Hmm.
to me, or I have pen and paper, and I write it down like what I deem, what I can draw from
Hmm.
the next day. And that's how a lot of things, I mean, it's not like I'm sitting around and all of a sudden, boom. It's usually like when I dream or uh, interested in something that has happened in my past or
Hmm.
something that like pops up and I go, ooh, this, yes, okay, you know.
You ever wake up the next day and be like, what the hell does this mean? I have no idea what I just wrote.
No, because I actually either say it or write what my dream came from. No, I know what it's about,
Okay.
and I have pages of stuff that that I could you know
Pull
um,
from.
write about.
Hmm.
So
Sounds really interesting. So
so when you're gonna write a book,
I need to write a book.
yeah,
All right. Um,
you've got to have some great things to say about. Since this is the 423rd podcast, you've got to have
yeah,
some great, cool things to say.
I do have a lot of stories. I mean, probably not as epic as some of your world travels, but I do have some interesting stories. Uh,
I'll bet.
I would have
You,
to.
you should write about it. I mean, you have a podcast about writing and, and things that, turn the tables on yourself.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea. I mean, I always have like a couple side projects I'm working on, and I just made a game, so like maybe a book will be the next project. Who knows?
You made a game? You mean like a video game?
Like a card game, party game. So
A card game?
yeah, like like Cranium or Cards Against Humanity, or like a party game, you social play with your friends. So
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
yeah, so
Trivial Pursuit, Cranium. God, there's other ones that are great too.
code words, code names.
Yeah. What was the one I used to love playing? It's like an old English word. Anyways, yeah, I like those games. I mean, Monopoly and all that stuff was like when I was younger. Now
Hmm.
it's like, eh. And I love the word games.
Yes,
I
yeah.
kind of think of myself kind of as a wordsmith, and
Hmm.
it's more fun to do those.
Do you have a favorite book?
No,
No.
I can't go there because I have tons of favorite books. It's like asking someone, "What's your favorite movie?"
Right,
And I'm like, I have I have tons of favorite movies. There's not just one that just stuck in my brain
right,
or
yeah,
one
yeah,
book. I
yeah. I'm
mean, it's
usually
like
like pick a genre.
Carlos Castaneda's, Robert Ludlum, I mean Patterson. I mean, there's tons of books that I've read that I love.
Hmm.
Hemingway, Fitzgerald, I mean Poe.
Hmm.
There's just too many books to say what's your favorite book.
Too many.
Oh, my favorite book is Centerfolds. Duh.
Perfect. That's what I was going for. So, do you have any advice for aspiring models? Anybody who would want to like follow in your footsteps, or is like motivated by your stories?
um, I'm motivated by the stories. I think that people, well, models, women and men,
Hmm.
whatever, should always make sure that they are very well protected and that they save their money and do not be fooled. I was raped by a photographer.
Oh
Do
man.
not be fooled by, you know, the trappings of someone saying, uh, yeah, I want to photograph you and we'll do
Hmm.
um, it's just have someone always look out for you and have a chaperone
Hmm.
so that you don't fall into traps. You know,
Hmm. Yeah, that's very good advice. Very good advice.
yeah.
Um, and so I guess the other project we haven't touched on is Beautiful Body, Beautiful Life. Your your videos.
Yeah, now that I did that with my girlfriend and we decided not to put it out.
Okay.
And so it's a video actually for women like over 40,
Hmm.
exercising, yoga, different stuff like that. But you know what? I didn't really like it enough to put it out there. I mean, I have like DVDs from it, but it didn't turn out the way I liked.
Gotcha.
And I have a couple other production projects that, yes, I need money for, hello investors, that are really good and they're episodics. So
That sounds
It's been a
interesting.
tough, it's been a tough few years though. I had back surgery,
Hmm.
and the same year I had to have my breast. Well, I'm tall and skinny, so they wouldn't do my back surgery until I had my breast reduced.
Oh, wow.
So I had that done,
Hmm.
and then 3 months later I had my back done, and I think that was a lot of anesthesia. And for 1 year, it was a
Yeah, yeah,
lot.
that's
The last 3, 4 years have been kind of, you know, tough.
yeah, yeah. I mean, that'll put anybody on, well, projects on hold, I would think. Um,
Yeah, I mean, I've done and worked on some stuff, but I haven't really like gone out there and tried to push them.
hmm. So,
And you know,
so the
and one
version
is
of, sorry, go ahead.
now one is remember on A&E they had that whole Playboy thing,
Hmm.
and it was really derogatory. It made us look like whores and drug addicts and everything else.
Hmm.
And I really didn't like it. So I wrote an episodic of basically really cool stories. And I have like 18 playmates that want to do it.
Hmm.
And I had the whole budget worked out and everything else, but I couldn't get the investors to do like one episode to show to distributors. So investors, I have a great idea, and it's kind of it's like they put us as one way, and this kind of puts us another way.
Hmm.
Just like when I wanted to do the book, I want people to know that we weren't all those bad things didn't happen to all of us.
Hmm.
But as in any kind of company or thing, yeah, good things are going to happen and bad things are going to happen. But I want to like shine the light on the fact that there's a lot of us that had great things happen too,
Hmm.
and fun, and and a lot of women have those stories, or a lot of playmates have those stories that are just wonderful.
Yeah,
You
I mean,
know,
I would watch that. That sounds like a really fun
it's
show.
yeah, it's kind of like I don't know, the A&E thing just kind of, I think I watched one episode and I was just like, oh my God. And I had fans. I just mean said, really? Like it made us look like, whores and uh drug addicts or whatever. And it wasn't that way. Not for all of us.
Hmm.
And the thing is that the women that were in that still worked for Playboy for years. So if it was so bad, why didn't you leave? Why
Right.
didn't you quit? If it was so freaking bad, why would you keep on working for Playboy? I mean, I've had my druthers with Playboy, but you know what? It doesn't consume me.
Hmm.
And, I tend to be an optimist and kind of an idealist, but you know what? I don't like to drag my dirty laundry in front of everyone. And also, it's like, why did you keep on working for him? You know,
Right. Right.
I mean, seriously, you know, 10 years, 12 years, whatever, and then turn around after half is dead, where he has no recourse to actually come back with anything and just lay the stuff out.
Hmm.
I don't, I don't find it that I think, people were kind of obsessed with it because it was like, yeah. And I just couldn't watch it. I was like, no, not everybody had, terrible things happen. I mean, I had a couple bad things, but you know what? Everyone has that in their life.
Hmm.
It's not like just, I mean, there was a microcosm. We've always been at Playmates. Okay. There's only 12 a year and like a million applied, everything. But the thing is, in any kind of organization, you're going to have that stuff, good and bad.
Yeah.
Now, whether you dwell on it and then turn around and, make us all look like that, it's like, and a lot of women, a lot of Playmates agree with me.
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, like you said, you weren't doing drugs, so you're at the mansion and just hanging out and like not getting into trouble and uh, right,
Well,
like
I got in trouble, but it wasn't enough. It wasn't enough to like, turn around and, you know, hate Playboy for it.
not like
Well,
true Hollywood story
everyone
type of
sows
thing.
their own seeds. But what I don't understand is why you keep working with a company that you detest.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
You know,
some people like money a whole lot. I guess that's what it comes down to.
I guess, but I'd rather have good things put out there than bad
Of
things.
course. Yeah.
And you know, I just think it was kind of awful.
Yeah. Yeah. So
So,
Centerfolds is in its second iteration. Um,
no, it's actually the same book, some little bit new stories
mhm.
and some taken out. But yeah, second printing. But I have a new publisher that's going to take over this book and the second book.
Okay.
And you know, they're
Well,
all really cool stories. There's nothing really negative in these stories.
just
They're all
interesting.
really fun, not fun, but cool and
Hmm.
intimate that people just don't know. And a lot of these women are dead, so people will never know their stories unless they read the book.
Hmm.
You
It
know,
is the second book stuff you couldn't fit in the first book, or is it new interviews or a combination of the two?
no new interviews and kind of a combo because some of the stories I didn't put, but yeah, combo, but pretty much new interviews.
Great. So you're
Yeah.
running the gamut of like 40 years of models,
Of Playmates, yeah,
playmates. Yep.
yeah, basically, you can't go too far back because a lot of them have passed. So
Yeah. Yeah.
you can go from like 70s on or 60s. It just depends on you know, what age and what they want to put out there. But I find that from Centerfolds, a lot of women once they loosen, you know, the fear of turning against them or something, because no one's ever written a book like this.
Hmm.
And a lot of women were afraid of the repercussions that they wouldn't be invited to me, da da da.
Hmm.
So it took me like 12 years to get like the good stuff,
Hmm.
the intimate, cool stuff. But at first, everyone was like, all fluff, and I'm like, that's not gonna work.
Yeah. What was he the type that would have gotten mad at some of these stories?
Yeah, he tried to block actually.
Oh, okay.
Uh,
That
He
makes.
tried to block. I went with a lawyer in Boston, a friend of mine, and we put the book out, and they all said no. And I said, well, why? And they were like, he said, Charlotte, half has blocked you.
Just like
I
that.
guess cock blocked me. Yeah, because he didn't want a kind of, but it was all cool stories. He had
Hmm.
never read the book. And, I finally sent this book to him, but by then he was like, kind of a drooling,
Hmm.
uh, he didn't read anymore and everything else. I sent a book to him and they kept it, but I said, well, can I get, something from half to put in the book? And they said, Charlotte, he can't even read. I said, well, can someone read it to him?
Hmm.
And no, he was pretty far gone.
Oh, well.
So, there's that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, all these stories are not particularly about half Playboy Mansion stuff. Like these are intimate stories from these women's lives
Hmm.
as playmates. They're not all about Playboy Mansion and da, da, da. A lot of women had to wait years before they did their like the first shoot before they got accepted. I mean, some women had to wait 8 to 10 years before getting into Playboy. They had to keep on doing new shoots, and they didn't get in as a centerfold. Like,
Hmm.
and I never knew this. I thought everyone was always accepted, like right away.
Hmm.
A lot of these women, and it tells you in the book. A few of these women actually talk about it. They had to wait years to get in Playboy.
Wow.
They wanted their boobs bigger, or this, or that, da, 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 da. And that's what these stories are. They're intimate and revealing that fans don't, and readers, or you know what people think about playmates
Hmm.
don't know. No.
Well, now they will. So I appreciate you writing this book and coming on the
Thanks,
show.
Dave.
Uh,
Thank you so
it's
much,
been
and
an
I'm so
absolute
sorry
pleasure.
for the long wait, but I've been sick.
Oh, yeah. You had completely legitimate reasons. Don't even, yeah. And if you want to talk exclusively about Frankenhooker on a horror movie podcast,
Oh, yeah,
well,
absolutely. Just tell me when it comes up or whatever. Just let me know. And
Excellent.
I can tell more in depth about that.
Yes, yeah, that sounds great because my co-hosts for that show are very jealous right now. So they when I told them you were coming on the show, they both watched the movie like again just to like, uh, you know, memories. Like they're both just huge fans. So
Very cool.
yeah, Centerfolds, Charlotte Kemp. This has been amazing. I want to thank you again.
Thank you.
And
This is the book, and it has all the women, everything on back and front, and the little bio about me. But the stories are intimate and stories that have never been told. And a lot of them will never be told because a lot of women have passed.
mhm.
So these are stories that, you know, people will never hear, but should be. And it goes from the 60s all the way to the 2000s of women. So there's, 20 women, 21 men. Yeah. In it.
All right,
And
and
it's, you know, everyone has read it. I've gotten like 5 stars, 4 stars, 5 stars. So people read the book. Jason, read the book.
I'm gonna order it as soon as we're done. And then part two coming out soon, so stay tuned for that as well.
Okay. Well,
Yeah,
thank you very much,
thank you so
and
much.
have a great evening. And we'll talk soon.
Sounds good.
I'll even send you a Frankenhooker uh, DVD sign.
Oh my God, that would be so amazing. Yes.
All
All right.
right, sweetheart. Thank you very much. I
Thank you.
appreciate it, and it's been really fun. I
It
know I
has.
talked most of it, so you need to like probably cut me off, but
All right. Yeah, thanks again, and we'll be in touch. I'll send you the links when everything's up.
thanks, Jason. Take
All
care.
right, you too. Bye.
Bye bye.